Hey guys, what's cracking? What's crack-a-lacking? Somebody give me a 5 for 5 and we'll get this going. I guess the sun doesn't know it's a stinking holiday, does it? I guess it doesn't, does it? Ain't gonna give us a break. Yeah, 4 a.m. in Utah. Yeah, it's almost 6 here. So, yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. Big time stuff. 5 a.m. Yeah. 5 for 5, Kim Possible. Thank you, thank you. And I know that this is some crazy time to be on here right now. It's typically not something I do, but I'm not sure if I'll have time later on to go over any of this stuff. And this thing is big. This is a big eruption, okay? What you're seeing right there is not really representative of what this thing is yet. This just happened, so I don't have a whole lot of time to, or I don't have a whole lot of data to really show you the extent of what's going on here so far. But I'm going to show you what I got because I'm not sure if I'll be able to do it until later on tonight. And I don't want you guys to not be aware of what's going on, okay? And that's why. So with that being said, please take it with a grain of salt, whatever is being reported here as far as how big this thing is going to get. I'm going to try to refrain from trying to estimate how big something's going to be. I always do that anyway, but with that being said, this time I'm even more so going to try to guard myself from doing that. It is definitely something that's easy to do for people that do live streams, because we're excited and get excited and stuff just like everybody else does. And so when we're showing you guys these things, it can get it gets pretty significant for us too. Especially if this is the first time I'm seeing it. And a lot of stuff I'm getting ready to show you, it will be the first time I'm seeing it. I was actually getting ready to go lay down and sleep. And I always check my space weather stuff before I lay down for situations like this. This is a long duration X flare. And it produced one of the most dense CMEs I've seen in a very long time. Now, the X flare has already impacted Earth, okay? We had an R3 radio blackout. It was an X2, so we'll leave the X part of it and how strong the actual flare itself was. We'll leave that to be discussed later on, but we'll discuss that a little bit more in detail. But do you see this right here? That is plasma. That is a very dense, I guess we could call it a ball of plasma. It's not really a ball, but it's a very condensed area. And when I say condensed, it's not really condensed. It's a large area. So I'm going to try to find some coronagraph images of it. But as of right now, we don't have a whole lot of those. I'm trying to see what we can get here. So a lot of the stuff I'm going to be showing you guys here is going to be the first time I'm seeing it. Now, let me show you what I seen first, okay? So always check here, right? This is NOAA Space Weather Prediction Center. This is what most people consider the official forecasting, the conditions and stuff that we're talking about with space weather of any kind. This is where most people go, and this is where it's reported, and it's from NOAA. So, I mean, this is the official agency that puts out all the watches and warnings, and, you know, NASA does some of that stuff too, but it's not the official type of thing. And there's schools out there that do it, colleges. But what I will say, guys, I want you guys to understand something, and this is what's going to become significant. All of these numbers, I look for these things to just completely get thrown in the garbage later on this week, probably tomorrow. I don't think that this CME is coming at us unless there is an Earth-directed component. And what I'm trying to say here, guys, this thing was big enough, and it's too early for me to sit here and try to say it's going to miss us completely. But I can tell you just by judging off of this and the direction of which this thing is traveling, that it's not a direct hit if it hits Earth. It's going to be going a little bit more towards the south and towards the east. Now remember, when we're looking at the sun, east and west is backwards. Like if you were looking at a flat map of the states, east is on your right, west is on your left. Well, when you look at the sun, you got to pretend you're standing on the sun looking up. So north-south is the same, east-west is reverse, okay? And for those that don't know, if this is the first time you've ever seen this kind of thing, this is a satellite. It's called SDO, and it's in geosynchronistic orbit, which means it stays over the same part of Earth at all times. But it keeps its eye on the sun. So it rotates, or orbits the Earth at the same speed, 15 degrees an hour, as we rotate around our own axis. So it keeps it over the same part of our planet. And you know what? I hate it when I do this. I said all that, and really all I have to do is this. And let me show you. This is SDO. I'm going to go, you hit the home page, and you say, where is SDO right here? This is all you have to do if you want to know how this satellite works. Okay? So this is the satellite. This is the movement that it's making and where it's at currently. It's got all these other reference lines that you can check out, stuff like that. You can see the sun here. You can see where the eye is pointed. But this is the most significant thing that people want to see. It does this figure 8 pattern. This is where the satellite sits at all times. But it rotates to keep its eye on the sun. It's called geosynchronistic orbit. So what they do is they take this satellite imaging and they put a filter on it. Okay, and this is extreme ultraviolet. We can't see it with our own eyes. This is out of our light spectrum. We cannot see this part of the light spectrum with our eyes. So this is picking up specific gases. So we see specific details when we're talking about the sun. That's why they do a lot of them. Look, this is the 211. This is the 304, and this one here is going to be a. I'll show it to you here in just a second. And this is the 171. Okay, now you can see there, anybody that's watched me for any length of time knows that that's a very dense eruption. Okay, so we're going to be talking about this for days for a lot of reasons. You see this sunspot right here? This sunspot and this one emerging over here are the ones that gave us the G5 storm a couple weeks ago. They survived the backside. They are now coming back around for round 2. So I want you guys to kind of, really pay attention to that. Because these sunspots have already proven themselves to be doing some big things. Now, let me rephrase what I just said. I know for certain this one was 3663, okay? We know that. This thing completely survived the backside. They gave it another number already. What's its number? 3695, 3691. These areas. And what's significant about these are starting to intermix. And when that happens, they become unstable. You get your positive and negative cores there. And if they start getting too close to each other, you get reconnection events, which causes flares. That's why we look at these when we start seeing the sunspot cores. When you start seeing them intermix like that. Now, let me show you. I can show you a better picture of that also. Right here. The blues, the blues and reds. Now, I'm looking at this thing, and I'm having a hard time deciding what I think here. Okay, when it comes to this. When we're looking at polarities on the sunspots, guys, we should see the polarities left to right. Okay? And whatever the northern hemisphere is, so you see how you got red and blue? It should be blue-red, like here, in the southern hemisphere, just like these are. But you can see these are either intermingling enough that it's kind of getting convoluted, I should say. Sorry about that. Or we've got us a sunspot here that is more north-south. And those are rare sunspots. They do happen, but they tend to be more active, okay? With this one, it's definitely harboring enough energy, in my opinion, to be blasting out X-flares. But this is not where this came from. I want you guys to understand what I'm talking about here, because this is important to know. This, you can't even see it yet. is where this eruption came from. It's an X2. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take you back up here, and I'm going to grab this slide bar. And this is probably, for people that know what we're looking at here and have seen it for a minute, it's probably going to blow your mind a little bit. This is very, very photogenic. Okay? But what I'm saying is, I think that a lot of this flare is being occulted. In other words, a lot of it is still behind the sun. We did not catch all those X-ray. So this came in at an X2, which gave us a R3 radio blackout. And again, this is long duration. It's actually still flaring as I'm talking to you. Okay? And you'll see what I'm talking about here in just a second. Why I mention that is, if it was fully on this side, this would not have been an X2 flare. This would have been much stronger, is what I'm trying to say. Okay? So check this out, and I'm just going to, and again, guys, there's no fear here. I'm just making everybody aware. I'm not scared of this in one way, shape, or form. I pay attention in case something does happen, but that's how we do things around here. We don't get scared. No fear. No fear at all. So let me back this up. And what's interesting, check this out, how this just happens. I want you guys to see that. You guys see that right there? You see what's happening. Now, if you can understand what I'm saying here, it appears, and I could be wrong because a lot of this is still behind the sun. It looks like the CME happened first. We see that from time to time. And remember, the CMEs and flares are two different things. Flares are measured in X-ray. That's what gives us radio blackout conditions. CME are highly charged particles, plasma. It's the fourth state of matter, right? Solid, liquid, gas, plasma. Plasma is a gas that has a charge. Oh, thank you, Full Hope. Appreciate that. And thank you for all the gifted memberships that you give, here in the past. Anyway, it's awesome. Hey, Star got it. You guys see Star's face there? It's orange now. What that means is we've got red. We started off with red, Kool-Aid faces. Then we went to, what was it, green? Yeah. And then as you got into the third month of consecutive membership, it changes you to orange. So, thank you. Thank you, Full of Hope. I really appreciate that. I love it. Thank you. Are you guys buffering? Huh. I'm good on my end. Is it just you, Renee? I hate to say this, but hopefully it is. I hope it's just okay. Okay, making sure I just checked the frames, and I'm not dropping any frames. But anyway, let me. I want to run this through because I don't want to make you guys sit here and wait to see this whole thing. Okay, look at this thing. That's massive, guys. I'm sorry. That is a very big eruption. Okay. And you can see right there, it almost looks like it's coming from two different areas of the sunspot. That's why you're seeing two separate little X signatures. And no, that isn't because it's an X flare. It's just how the camera picks it up in the imaging. Okay? But these X-rays have already hit. They're still hitting. So let me show you that real quick. It'd be down here. This is the D region absorption. This is what we look for. It shows up almost like a dartboard, okay? Like a bullseye. Hey, Mark. Member for 2 months plus, baby. Guys, if you guys have members, if you have a membership, you can do what he just did right there. It's a free super chat. So I would, just puffering. Go and BK. Hey, Renee. But I would encourage everybody that has a membership to use that. It's a free super chat. Say something cool in there. Say something you want to ask. Whatever. It highlights it. So thank you for that. That's cool. That is actually part of the membership thing. It gives you a free super chat once a month. Anyway, so watch this. Right there. Boom. I mean, and when the X-ray hit, it hit hard. I mean, this thing didn't take no time to get to R3 radio blackout storm. But what it's taking its time doing is calming down. That's still R1 radio blackout conditions. Okay? That is not coming down. Hey, Gunslinger. Hey, Nita. So, yeah. So let me take you guys back up here again. And we're going to be looking at some things for the first time. I haven't seen everything yet. I just knew I needed to come here and at least show you this. So we're going to take a look at some other models here in a minute. But what impressed me the most was the duration of this thing. And it's almost like, I don't know if you guys remember, when you guys were kids, maybe it's just a boy thing here, I don't know, and I ain't trying to be one way or the other on that, but what I'm saying is when I was a kid, we had things called M80s. You can't buy them anymore. They're actually the equivalent of a quarter stick of dynamite. And they had waterproof fuses on them. So we would actually take them to, wherever we were going. If there were like mud puddles or if there was like a lake or a pool, you could take it in there, you could throw an M80 in there, and it would still blow up. And it would blow a significant amount of water like this. This is what this looks like. Boom, look at that. And you can clearly see that it does look like the CME happened first. Okay, and then there's all those x-rays just flooding that camera. It can't handle all that. That's why you see that. Okay, and no, that checkerboard thing here means absolutely nothing. It's just part of what the imager is, okay? I would argue that to anybody who wants to say different at this point. It's so easily provable that that's what that is. It's ridiculous that, yeah. Anyway, we'll leave that alone. But this is a 211. Now, we'll be able to see if there was a shockwave. I haven't looked yet, okay? It's going to erupt here, but we'll be able to see if the corona of the sun actually ripples with the shockwave back this direction. If it gets back here far enough, what that's going to be telling us is it's going to be trying to, hey, Joe, good to see you, bud. I ain't seen you in a minute. Man, I hope you're doing good. Man, I was just thinking about you the other day, brother. I really was. So good to see you in here, man. Glad you're here. Thanks for the super chat, bud. Super thanks or super sticker, whatever that was. But anyway, we'll be able to see the shockwave of this thing. And if it gets anywhere around longitudinal middle here, meridian, okay, that would suggest that we got some of the CME coming at us. So let's just take a look here. Remember, well, we're not going to have to look very hard. Yeah, that's right, Anita. Yeah, we used to tie 4 of them together just because we knew it was a quarter stick of dynamite. Yeah, I know. Yeah. That's why we're not allowed to have them anymore. Too many kids lost their hand and their fingers. Just saying. Oh, wow. Look at that thing. I mean, come on, guys. That's impressive. I'm sorry. It just is. But what I'll say, I do think, even looking at this, I don't think any of that's going to come at us. Very little, if any. But do you guys see now what I mean about it being occulted by the sun? You see how it's past the horizon. Guys, I bet you that could have been the strongest X flare that we've had all cycle. And we just don't know it because we can't see back there. We did not receive all the X-ray to get it measured. That's significant, okay? It's probably going to be another day before that sunspot is actually over here, if not longer. So for it to hit us with an X3 or an X2 flare and an R3 radio blackout from behind the sun, pretty impressive. That's all I'm saying, okay? But that's a good thing for us in this instance because if that CME was coming at Earth, I wouldn't be happy about that one. I'm just saying. It would, and I'm not trying to, again, I'm not trying to sensationalize or anything like that. But it would be significant. Look at that. Look at that thing just shoot out like that. That just blows my mind, man. And we don't typically see it like that bright and dense on this particular angstrom of light. So check it out here on the 304. I already looked at this one. Spoiler alert, it's pretty impressive. And the other thing I want to mention, we got these big dark filaments laying here, these rope-like things. Those are filaments, and they will erupt off. Now, why I'm mentioning that is because they're fairly long and they're facing Earth, okay? So if they lift off or erupt off, decide to go ahead and blast on out, what's going to happen? There's a likelihood that it could be hitting us, okay? So why am I mentioning that this particular time? This X-flare probably destabilized the majority of the sun. It affected everything. Now, I'm not saying it's affecting it in a way that's going to immediately just start blowing everywhere. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, yes, it probably affected the whole sun. This is a big enough flare for that. Let me, again, watch down here. All right, about, I mean, look at that. I mean, come on. I should have used that as a thumbnail. I mean, look at that thing. Now, let me say this too. You guys have heard me say, if I said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. The space is the background here, so we have a good contrast. If that had popped right here, that would be nowhere near as photogenic. Okay? The sun would camouflage half of that. This thing is big, guys. I'm not kidding. And why I'm saying that, I want you guys to look at what's happening. I've never pointed this out to you guys before because it hasn't happened very often. Remember I said it shows these X patterns when it's got too much light from the flare? The CME itself, this is the plasma away from the sun, is producing enough light that the camera is seeing it almost like it would see a flare. That's how bright this thing is. This is impressive. It really, truly is. Very, very large eruption. And again, what makes me, just kind of pause and tell everybody, hey, pay attention, is the fact that I do believe this is one of those sunspots that was causing the G5 storms from a couple weeks ago. It survived the backside just like this one up here did. And this one up here hasn't been just laying around doing nothing either. It's been flaring a little bit. If those start intermingling more, it'll flare more. So we're just going to have to watch this. Is it me, or does what'd you say? Or does the sun look squeezed? I don't know. It might be just my imaging or something, if you're seeing something crazy like that. I don't think it's like squeezed. I hope not. If something's big enough to squeeze the sun, I don't know if I want to meet that person. Just saying. But check that out. Now, I want you guys to see what happened here. Okay? Now, see, when I look at this angstrom, it almost looks like the flare started first. So you see where this, and it doesn't really matter, okay? They both happened. It's just, I thought it was interesting. Now, I guess, if the CME was bright enough, it's causing this signature to show up. Maybe the CME is doing that. It's kind of crazy. Kind of crazy. All right. But let me back this up again. I just think we don't get to see that happen very often like that, guys. I mean, that is a massive eruption, okay? And I have to say again, if I was ever, you see how fast it left? Number one, oh man, let me see this. Timestamp here, okay? I'm going to take it back till it starts right there. 6:54. Let's see how long it takes it to get off the screen. 57. So we started at 54, right? Yeah. So it's giving us what? 1 every 4 minutes here? Yeah, roughly. 54. And it's off. Guys, that took 25 minutes to get off the screen. That is moving fast. And so what I'm trying to say here is, if we were to catch a CME of that density, moving that fast, like head on, we would be having those kinds of discussions like we had a couple weeks ago. Okay? So that's what I'll just say it like that. Okay? Because I don't want to put extra things here that don't need to be there. Because they don't. Whatever's happening is what's happening, and that's how I report on it. Okay? But I do have my opinions, and I will say that I do think, just by judging by looking at this, this is a very, very, very strong eruption. It's moving very, very fast. And I do think that at some level, we probably just dodged a bullet, to be honest. I'm not saying that it would have been a complete grid down or something like that. It's going to take a lot for me to say that, guys. Okay? And I mean, it's going to take more than what you just seen right there, is what I'm trying to tell you. But it doesn't mean that we wouldn't see significant things from this, because we would. If this thing was to hit us dead on, after getting more data in here, I might be on here saying that to you. I don't know. But it is just one eruption, okay? Typically, if we're going to be talking about, like, grid issues and things like that, most likely we're going to need more than one hit, okay? It's going to be like a back-to-back type of thing, like we seen with the G5 storm a couple weeks ago, okay? But I don't think any of those was like this. Matter of fact, I would bet the farm that none of them were this strong. Okay? That's what I'll say. And I'm being honest when I say that. And I'm not trying to exaggerate things, but I do think that this was probably, with that being occulted by the sun, guys, this flare is way bigger than what it's actually being detected. The sun is blocking these X-rays from getting to the detectors. Okay? So, yeah. And the speed of that, man. So, I don't think that's coming at us, though. So, whatever effects we got, it's probably already happened, okay, from that initial eruption. But I also want to point out, because if there's anybody new that's watching, always remember, this is what it looks like as we're going into solar maximum. This is 2020. This is solar minimum. That's the difference that we're talking about here, guys. Okay? And I always show it. I keep it there at all times for that reason. But it's just kind of look at the whole sun here and see what the whole sun's doing. And it does seem to be a little active. So, I haven't looked at the 94 angstrom yet. Let's look at the 304, though, first. Okay. Here, let me back that up. Okay, so wham. I can sit here and just roll this back and forth for 3 hours and be happy. I mean, it's just so cool to me. It really is. I know you guys can probably hear my little schoolboy giddy type of stuff in my voice here. But this is significant, man. I mean, and you see what I mean about the shockwave kind of stops right there? And so what that's indicating is it's not really coming here to the middle of the sun, which would mean it really wouldn't be hitting Earth, okay? It doesn't look like a very wide eruption, is what I'm saying. Which is probably why we see the more condensed ball. Now, that can be good and bad, okay? The fact that this didn't come right at us, and it's a ball, is probably good for us because it's not as wide. So we have less of a chance of getting a glancing blow. Now, in the vice versa of that, if this had waited 4 days and was sitting here and did that, then it wouldn't be lucky. It would be a bad thing. And I don't want to call it bad either. I don't know that it would be bad. That's what I'm trying to say, guys. But I do think we should be concerned with eruptions like that if they're coming at Earth. Okay? And I don't mean fear. I'm talking concern. Like, just real stuff, right? I mean, stuff that we have to pay attention to. But check, this one here is just so impressive to me. This is the 131 angstrom, and it does give us the best look at flares, in my opinion. But it doesn't necessarily show us the best look on CMEs until this one. I mean, it's shown both really well. All of them are. That right there is going to suggest also that this is a very strong eruption. Okay? That's another key point that we need to make sure that we're considering here. That when we see these things in all different angstroms, because we're looking at different gases. So if we see it show up very powerful on all of them, and you can see the CME and the flare in all of them really well, typically that's pointing to a stronger eruption. Not always, but typically. But what I want you guys to notice is this sunspot up here is starting to get active too. Okay, see that? Now I know it doesn't look nothing like the one there on the south yet. Okay, but check that out. Watch this eruption here. Here it goes. Look at that. Let's just zoom into that one for a minute. I just, wow. And you can see the arcing magnetic connection lines, right? And this is not one of them. It probably was on a bunch of them, and then it erupted out, okay? So if we go forward again, let's do that again. Okay, now I'm going to point something out here too. You guys have heard me talk about the 180 effect, right? Hey, Peter, good to see you. MJ, what's up? Kathy, Renee, good to see everybody. Hey, everybody, APCM, good to see you. Hilly Billy's in the house. Really? You didn't get your notification again? That's starting to tick me off. It was like a 2-point something, Bill, but most of it's occluded by the sun, and I'll show it to you here in a second. But remember me talking about the 180 effect, right? You get an eruption, and in almost every time you get another eruption about 180 degrees on the other side of the sun. It may not be as powerful, but we still usually see, a lot of times in my observations, another eruption. Check this out. Watch this erupt, and then watch over here. There's a big eruption. Now, check out over here. See that? So, what I'm saying is that I don't say that for no reason. I really observe that. I observe that all the time. And I don't know if there's any science behind that, guys. I really don't. I've not seen any kind of historic data on it or any kind of studies on that thing, on something like that. But it's just something I've noticed. That's why I pay a lot of attention to stuff that fires off the backside. Because if it fires directly off the back, there's a good chance we're going to have an eruption fired on the front right at us. That's kind of the way I look at it. So, but anyway, you can see how that's happening. And it's also another way for me to show you guys that this did disrupt probably the whole sun at some level. It affected everything. Okay? That's just another way for me to show you that. Backdraft? Yeah. Kind of like a fart, I guess. I don't know. Maybe that's a burp and that's a fart, or maybe this is a throw up and I don't know. Let's get off that subject. But yeah, anyway. Aloha, Kathy. Guys, give me a roll call in there. Let me know where you guys are at. Give me a region. Give me a region. I see a region. Okay, so what we're going to do now, because nobody else is going to have this on their stuff yet. I literally just seen this happen. I do want to point this out too. Well, check this out. Increasing chance of flares. You know what's funny? You know what flare they're talking about here? This one. The sunspot. They're not even talking about the one that just blew up. But this is interesting too, guys. Lunar pollen corona. Okay? I believe that's the moon. And we get to see like this, like a corona on the moon, but it's all the pollen in the air. And you only see it from a certain angle on the horizon. You got to be in the exact right position and all that kind of stuff. Conditions just have to be exactly correct. But I would encourage you guys to come over here to spaceweather.com and read this. This is all good information, but this is a really cool phenomenon that happens. So, anyway. And he explains why with the pollen. And sometimes it's not all just pollen either. Well, guys, if you remember, we get dust from the Sahara all the way over here in the States. It grabs hold of the upper air currents and it comes all the way across the Atlantic. It's been very, very active in that the past couple of years. It really has. You can see it on the satellites. So don't think that that ain't possible, because it is. So let me refresh that and see if we got anything new here. It looks like we're getting, yeah, we just dropped out of flare range, or radio blackout storm range. So it is starting to calm down with the X-rays. But what I will say, guys, this is something we're going to have to watch. This sunspot, look, it's not even crested over yet, guys. It blows my mind when we see stuff like this. That was very, very powerful. For us to see an X2 point whatever, when the sunspot isn't even on this side, is letting you know that this was a very, very significant eruption. And luckily, I showed you guys why I don't think this is going to hit us. And the main reason is because of the direction just overall this way, right? And the shockwave in the 211 here did not really go that far over on this side. And again, I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so, and I'll slow this down. But watch the disruption in the corona. It kind of stops right here. See that? And it doesn't go any further. So, at best, we'll catch a glancing blow, because that is on the back side. I don't think we're going to catch any kind of CME from that. We got the X-rays from it already, whatever we were going to get. So, let's see if Seeds has got anything showing up on the coronagraphs yet. It wasn't a minute ago, because again, guys, this is very fresh. Yeah, I don't think this is going to be there, guys. Unfortunately. We'll see. Nope, not yet. Sometimes, guys, I'll look at this one first before I go lay down, and I miss stuff because of that. This has a time delay. Now, there is something else we can go look at, though. It may be there. I'll tell you what we'll do. Come back over here to ISWA, which is where this is at. And this, you guys, ISWA is just a hub for all these different models. Okay, it's the same data, same information. Okay, but I can go up here and get the same coronagraph from Seeds. Okay, this coronagraph here is this one. So it's the same one, but sometimes we get more real time here. Now that starts at 7. Man, it's not going to show up, because we've seen the initial flare starting at like 6:54, and it's just not going to be enough to get out past this occulter. This is an occulter disc. Got an actual physical disc on the camera to black out most of the light so we can get an image at all. So, yeah, this is significant. But, guys, I wish I could show you, and again, I'll probably come back on later on. And I understand that this is a holiday, okay? So don't feel bad if you can't make it back. I get it. I may wait until this evening, or I may try to do something midday. I'm not sure. I'm not going to, let me just reiterate this. I'm not going to be in a hurry. And let me tell you why. There's going to be 1,000 people out here that are going to try to rush out here and give you all this stuff, and they're going to make mistakes. Okay, this is not going to affect us immediately. And I just showed you guys that the CME itself probably isn't going to affect us at all. We've already got the radio blackout part has already happened. Now, barring another eruption, there's absolutely no reason for me to rush out here. That way, when I come back to you guys, I have all the information. I'm able to look at it and give you guys the best nowcasting I can with the proper stuff. Like I said, the only reason why I'm here now is because I'm getting ready to go lay down. And I wanted you guys to know that this happened, but I also wanted you to know my opinion on how strong this was, and more important than that, if it was going to hit us, or if we should be like extremely concerned. And the answer to that question is no. Okay? That's why I'm doing this. Because undoubtedly you're going to have somebody out there screaming. And it's okay. I'm not trying to bash on anybody that's doing that. Sometimes it's just inexperience, and sometimes it is just being excited and wanting to share it, and they just get things wrong. And other times, it's intentional. And unfortunately. But I don't dwell on those things. So, I'll be here with the information. And I'm going to, I used to jump out here real quick too. I used to think it was important to be the first one out here. I don't think that anymore. I made too many mistakes doing that. So I try to have the data so you guys get the right stuff. That way when I come out here and I say certain things, you guys will take me serious. Because if I come out here too many times and make too many mistakes just because I didn't have patience, that lowers your credibility and people quit listening. It's the same thing as crying wolf, guys. And I'm not going to do that to you. Or myself. So, that's what I'll say on that. But, if I had anything else to show you guys, I would, but I don't. Well, we can look at LASCO C3 and see if this is the same satellite. You'll see it don't even have, we're still 6 minutes behind this one. So, it's just too early to show you a coronagraph image. So, hopefully, here in the next 4 or 5 hours, I'll have some significant data to show you when it comes to the actual eruption off of a coronagraph. I showed you everything here. That's all. What I showed you guys here would have been the same. So I have no problem doing that. But just remember, guys, I do think that this forecasting most likely is probably going to change. Because if these sunspots are more active than what they thought they were going to be, this has no choice but to change. Okay? And they will. They'll change it. You see how we had a 5% or less chance of getting an R3, which is an X flare, for the next 3 days? And look what just happened. It cracks me up. But, you can't predict that. It's on the backside, guys. I have to keep saying that. It's on the stinking backside of the sun. Stuff like that just blows my mind. Hope Between the Dreams. Love the name. Birmingham, Tuscaloosa. Let's see here. Who else we got? Gunslinger. Hey guys. Anybody that's a channel member, I'll probably try to do a live stream for you guys tomorrow. I'm going to let you guys know in advance. That way I don't just drop a members only live stream. Okay? I don't want to do that to you guys. But if you guys are wanting to become members, guys, there's a link in the top of my description box. You guys have been so generous and it's a different thing. Ask anybody that's a member how it is when we do our members only streams. It's a very laid back and we get to talk about cool things that we can't talk about here. We make emojis. I gave away some cards. And also, guys, I'll be getting those cards mailed out to the ones that won. If you won, please email me. See Here Think, I think, still needs to email me. I actually caught him over on Marfugel's live stream. So I think he's going to be sending me an email. I haven't looked yet. But I'm waiting until probably Friday to send those out because I want to send them all out at once. So that's why. Make sure I got everything. So, all right, guys. I am going to go ahead and pop off. If anything else big happens, I'll be back with you, like I always am. If this ends up turning into something, but guys, spread this far and wide, okay? Please. And the reason I say that, this sunspot is not on this side of the sun yet, and it is heading our way. It's going to be in front of us in the next 2 to 3, 4 days. It'll be over here, okay? So, with that being said, I am going to go ahead and go. You guys, hey, thanks to all the service members. Any family that lost somebody, given the ultimate price. I mean, yeah. Just remember that today, guys. Seriously. That's what today's about. So, just remember that. Make it about that. Don't make it about just getting a day off work. Okay, guys? All right, guys. God bless. Yahusha saves, and, yeah, take some of that Kool-Aid I just gave you to your cookout. How about that? That's right. Take your favorite color Kool-Aid to your favorite cookout. Let me know what kind of Kool-Aid you're going to take in the comment section, would you? My favorite's red. Tropical Punch, baby. I love it. Love it, love it. I'm blue Kool-Aid, but, hey, I like the flavor of the red. So, anyway, God bless. Yahusha saves, and, yeah. You can drink this Kool-Aid.